When we last spoke, one of the three key lessons for leadership that you talked about was the necessity to consider second and third order effects when we're considering decisions. As I actually went through the transcripts and interviews of the 51 4-stars that I spoke with, over 60% of them really hit on this idea of needing to understand the second and third order effects that could happen. And so for our listeners who aren't familiar with this term, can you boil it down very simply? What do you mean about understanding the second and third order effects?
Well, for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. I don't believe that's necessarily a leadership dictum, but it's one that is true in this case. And quite frankly, when I was vice chief of staff of the Army, commanding the division or corps, when people had a problem, normally they would try to fix it themselves. And the most precious thing a leader has when trying to make a decision is time, the ability to understand the problem and the best solution for it. But normally, when you ascend in the ranks, staff uses a majority of the time and only brings the problems to you that they can't fix themselves. And when that happens, I would find more often than not, there would be 2 or 3 courses of action that I could take. I'd have very limited time to make a decision. Basically, the staff had coalesced around one of those courses of action, and it looked on the surface like it solved the problem. However, what you would find out is that if you made the decision based on that recommendation, then there were other impacts that you had not had enough time to totally understand. Other balls that would begin rolling because of the decision you made to solve that particular problem. And that's the second and third order effects of what happens. I can give you a great example from
Sure.
commanding downrange in Iraq. During the time I was there from the 2004 to 2007 time frame, we extended units downrange at various times. They were sent over on 12-month deployments, and there were times that we had to go ahead and extend their rotation to 16 months. In going ahead and extending those, it seemed like a pretty clear-cut decision to go ahead and extend them additional 4 months. But too often we did not understand what the second and third order effects of that was going to be. One of the effects was that folks at home had made plans to welcome their loved one, and many of them were getting ready to go on vacation. They had made plans to take the kids to Disneyland or wherever.
Sure.
And what seemed to be a very clear-cut decision to go ahead and extend an additional 4 months, there were many, many impacts that occurred. And it's not to say that the decision to extend was the wrong decision. It's just that you need to understand what all the second and third order effects are going to be before you make a decision like that, so that you can mitigate those second and
Exactly.
third order effects and do everything you possibly can to help people deal with the new reality of spending an additional 4 months downrange.
Yeah.